In the past 60 days, Microsoft canceled their Claude Code rollout across Windows. Uber's CTO burned through their entire AI coding budget in 4 months and went back to the drawing board. Block laid off 4,000 people citing AI and got called out for AI washing. Oracle is firing the engineers training their AI. Replacing engineers with AI is quietly failing inside the Fortune 500. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening. If you appreciate me making this type of content, let me know by gently tapping that like button. Let's dive in. If you're a senior engineer or architect inside a Fortune 500 right now, you've watched this play out from the inside. Your CTO walked into a board meeting last year promising AI productivity gains. Your team got pushed onto Copilot, then Cursor, then Claude Code. Headcount conversations got tense. And then quietly, the rollout started slipping. You're not imagining it. The story below is yours, just at 4 different companies. Microsoft is the cost discipline story. In December of last year, Microsoft gave Claude Code access to roughly 5,000 engineers in the Experiences and Devices group. That's the team behind Windows, Microsoft 365, Outlook, Teams, and Surface. The bet was simple: put the most advanced AI coding agent on the market in the hands of the engineers building the products used by a billion people. Watch what happens. Adoption climbed to between 84 and 95% within 4 months. By every metric an AI vendor would put in a deck, this was the gold standard rollout. And then the bill arrived. Per engineer Claude Code costs hit $500 to $2,000 a month. Microsoft is now canceling those licenses across the entire Experiences and Devices division. The deadline, June 30, the last day of Microsoft's fiscal year. Engineers moved to GitHub Copilot CLI, Microsoft's cheaper in-house tool. First, this is what FinOps failure looks like at scale. Microsoft pioneered enterprise software pricing models. They know how to forecast cost per seat, cost per server, cost per Azure region. Token-based AI billing broke every model they had. The variable here is token consumption. It behaves nothing like the licenses and seats their finance teams know how to track. Second, the irony. Microsoft is Anthropic's largest customer investor relationship outside the cloud deal itself. They have an investment commitment of up to $5 billion in Anthropic and roughly $30 billion in Azure compute purchases for Anthropic over time. The deeper deal stands. What got pulled is the internal license. Microsoft is paying Anthropic billions on one balance sheet while telling its own engineers the tool is too expensive on the other. Third, and this is the part that matters for the rest of us, Microsoft had every advantage: capital, vendor leverage, internal financial discipline, in house tooling alternatives. And the FinOps math still didn't work. That tells you the cost structure of agentic AI tooling at scale is harder than the industry has been admitting. If Microsoft can't make it pencil, what does that tell you about the rollout your CTO is currently betting on? Uber is the warning shot for your company. Same December rollout, same Claude Code agent. Uber, with a $3.4 billion annual R&D budget, deployed it across their 5,000 engineer organization. Adoption went from 32% in February to 84% by March. By April, 70% of code committed at Uber originated with AI. About 11% of live backend updates were being shipped by an agent with no human in the loop. No code review, no human pressing the button. This is the dream every CTO has been selling to their board. Then Uber CTO Praveen Nepali Naga told the information in April. His exact words: "I'm back to the drawing board because the budget I thought I would need is blown away already." Uber burned through their entire 2026 AI coding budget in 4 months. Individual engineer spend ran $500 to $2,000 per month. Naga himself spent $1,200 in 2 hours during a personal demo session. By early June, Uber had imposed a $1,500 per engineer per month cap on AI coding tools. Their COO, Andrew McDonald, went on the Rapid Response podcast and said the part out loud that nobody else has wanted to say. Uber cannot yet draw a line from rising Claude Code token consumption to consumer-facing features. They're spending the money. They can't yet prove it's producing the output. Here's why this is the warning shot. Uber isn't Microsoft. They don't have Microsoft's cushion. They don't own the cloud infrastructure they're billing against. They were the most aggressive adopter in the Fortune 500. They had leaderboards ranking engineers by token usage. They were the gold medal customer Anthropic would have put on stage. Your CTO is benchmarking against Uber right now. Your CTO is also working with a much smaller R&D budget than Uber's. If Uber's path is the path your company is on, and for most enterprise software organizations it is, the cost reckoning your leadership is about to hit isn't a hypothesis. It's a calendar event. The question your team should be asking right now isn't whether AI is useful. It is. The question is whether your company has a FinOps model for token consumption that can survive contact with actual engineer adoption. If you don't know the answer, find out before the bill arrives. Block is where it gets harder to assess. On February 26th, Jack Dorsey announced Block was cutting just over 4,000 employees, about 40% of the workforce, from over 10,000 down to under 6,000. He tied the cuts directly to AI. In a letter to shareholders, Dorsey wrote that intelligence tools have changed what it means to build and run a company. A significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do it better. On X, he posted 100 people plus AI equals 1,000 people. The headline writes itself. Block fired half its workforce because of AI. Replacement at scale. Here's where the data gets uncomfortable. In 2019, Block had 3,835 employees. By 2022, after pandemic era hiring, that number had grown to 12,500. Block tripled its headcount during COVID. The 2026 layoff cut it back below the pre pandemic baseline. That fact alone doesn't disprove the AI rationale. Companies can be overhired and make AI driven productivity gains at the same time. But it raises a question worth taking seriously. How much of we cut 4,000 people because of AI is the AI doing the work, and how much is a long overdue correction wearing a new label? Sam Altman acknowledged the dynamic in February. His phrase was AI washing, companies blaming AI for layoffs they would have done anyway. A Gartner study covered by Fortune in May went further. It surveyed 350 global executives at companies with annual revenue of at least $1 billion. 80% of the executives who had piloted AI or autonomous technology reported workforce reductions. But the businesses cut jobs regardless of whether the technology was actually generating returns. The AI didn't have to work. The layoffs happened either way. Now look back at Block. Strong gross profit growth. Dorsey explicitly stated the cuts weren't because the business was in trouble. The company that had spent 4 years overhired suddenly found a reason to right size at exactly the moment AI gave them a clean narrative for the move. I'm not telling you Dorsey lied. I'm telling you the data raises serious questions about how much of the 4,000 person layoff is a productivity story and how much is a market pressure story dressed up in AI language. Both can be true. Both probably are true. The reason this matters to you isn't Block. It's that the same pattern is sitting inside your company. Some of the AI cited cuts you're reading about are real productivity replacement. Some are theater. Your job is to know which is which for yourself, for your team, and for the conversation your leadership is having about your headcount. If Block is uncomfortable, Oracle is the case where I stop hedging. On March 31st at 6 a.m. Pacific Time, Oracle's HR systems began sending termination emails to roughly 30,000 employees, about 18% of the company's 190,000 person global headcount. The cuts hit Cerner, also known as Oracle Health, hardest. Database administrators, solution engineers, ERP consulting teams. The cuts spared the AI data center buildout and the Stargate project. This wasn't a cost cutting layoff. Oracle had just reported its best growth quarter in 15 years. Q3 revenue of $17.2 billion, up 22% year over year. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure growing 84%. A remaining performance obligations backlog of $553 billion, a 325% increase, driven by their $300 billion deal with OpenAI. Market cap over $400 billion. This was a strategic layoff. Free up 8 to 10 billion in annual cash flow to fund AI data center buildout. Larry Ellison framed Oracle as the GPU landlord of the AI economy. Here's the part you need to hear. Time magazine published an investigation last month. They spoke with 8 former Oracle employees. Cynthia Sloan was a senior director of technical writing at Oracle. 19 years there. She was laid off. Before her termination, her team had been asked to document their workflows so Oracle could use that documentation to train their AI systems. Another former employee, who came to Oracle through the Cerner acquisition, told Time her experience like this: "We were training AI to replace us, but the AI is the only way we can get through our workload. You're behind on all your deadlines, and your hand is forced." In a written survey of 272 laid off Oracle workers shared with Time, organized by ex employees and a worker advocacy group called What We Will, 62% of respondents were over 40 years old, 22% had been at the company for more than 15 years, 27% had restricted stock units due to vest within 90 days. Those vested shares are gone. Workers built the documentation that trained the system that replaced them, then got fired before their stock vested. This is the version of AI replacement that's actually happening at scale, not speculation about the future. This happening now. And here's what I want to be clear about: Oracle is a profitable, growing, financially healthy company that chose to do this, not a struggling company shedding costs to survive. A growing company that decided the engineers, technical writers, and database administrators who built the company over 2 decades were a line item to free up cash for data centers. That is a moral choice, not a market choice, not an inevitability, a choice. Oracle's leadership decided that the workers who built the institutional knowledge that trained their AI were worth less to the company than the GPU racks that knowledge is now running on. You can call it strategic. You can call it shareholder aligned. You can call it the future. I'm going to call it what it is. It's the wrong way to treat the people who built your company. If you're a senior engineer or architect inside a company holding strategic AI conversations behind closed doors lately, this is the playbook you should be watching for. The pattern is document, then train, then fire. Oracle didn't invent the playbook. Oracle just executed it cleanly enough that we can finally see it. Across all 4 cases, 3 patterns show up. None of them are what the AI vendors are selling. All of them are what your CTO should be planning around and probably isn't. Factor 1: cost discipline. Microsoft and Uber are the same story at different scales. Token based AI billing breaks the FinOps models enterprises spent 20 years building. Per seat pricing was clean. Token consumption isn't. The engineers who succeed in the next 2 years are the ones whose companies build per team, per project, real time AI spend visibility before the bill arrives. The engineers whose companies skip that step are going to watch tools they depend on get pulled out from under them. Factor 2: output verifiability. This is the structural divide Box CEO Aaron Levy has been writing about. AI works where the output can be tested. Code either compiles or it doesn't. AI struggles where the output can't be tested cleanly. Legal analysis, financial decisions, healthcare workflows, customer service judgment calls. Silicon Valley's productivity numbers come from a domain with the tightest possible feedback loop. The rest of the Fortune 500 doesn't have that feedback loop. That's why engineering teams are getting hit first, and why the rest of the enterprise looks like it's faking AI adoption. Because in a lot of cases, it is. Factor 3: honest measurement. This is the one nobody wants to talk about. Aaron Levy told a story on A16Z's podcast about a large company measuring AI adoption by token usage. Employees set agents to perform what Levy called useless tasks purely to hit their numbers. The term going around is tokenmaxxing. That's Goodhart's law in real time. The moment your company makes token usage the metric, your engineers will burn tokens to hit the metric. Your CTO will report massive AI adoption to the board. The board will believe the transformation is happening. Nobody is actually lying. Nobody is measuring anything real either. 72% of enterprises have at least one AI workload in production as of Q1, up from 55% in 2024. Only 28% describe their adoption as mature. Just 38% of employees use generative AI daily. Those gaps are the structural difference between we have AI in production and AI is producing measurable business outcomes. The pattern across all four cases is the same. The companies that bet hardest on AI replacement are the ones discovering, in slow motion, how hard the underlying math actually is. Here's where I step out of the case studies and talk to you directly. If you're a senior engineer or architect inside a Fortune 500 watching this, the temptation right now is to read these cases as a threat. AI is coming for my job. The only question is when. I think that framing is wrong. Not because AI isn't reshaping the work, it is, but because reading these cases as a threat misses what the cases are actually showing. Look at the through line again. Microsoft pulled their AI because the cost structure broke. Uber's CTO went back to the drawing board because the budget broke. Block's narrative is being challenged by the data. Oracle's playbook is visible enough now that it can't be repeated cleanly. In every one of these cases, the headline says AI is replacing engineers, and the substance says the people who control how AI gets adopted have the leverage. That's the mindset shift. The engineers who survive and thrive over the next 5 years aren't the ones who use AI the most. They're the ones who understand where AI works, where it doesn't, what it costs, and how to translate all of that for the executives who don't have time to learn it themselves. Your CTO is making decisions about token budgets, vendor lock in, tool consolidation, FinOps maturity, and replacement strategy with imperfect information. The engineer who can walk into that conversation with clear judgment is the engineer who shapes the rollout instead of being shaped by it. That's also where the opportunity sits. A lot of senior engineers I've worked with over the years have something on the side they've been wanting to build: a startup idea, a business they've thought about, a consulting practice, a product, a career move into architecture or leadership they've been postponing because the day job already consumes them. The work AI is actually good at, the boilerplate, the syntax recall, the unfamiliar library lookup, the test scaffolding, that work was eating your bandwidth. The capacity AI gives back to you is real, not unlimited, not free of judgment, but real. What you do with that capacity is the question. Most engineers will use it to ship the same tickets faster. The ones who use it to build the thing they've been waiting to build are the ones who come out of this transition somewhere very different than where they started. That's a decision only you can make. Sitting where you are, knowing what your situation actually looks like, what you want, what you've been postponing. Nobody on YouTube knows enough about your specific situation, including me. What I can tell you is that the framing of AI versus humans is the wrong question. The right question is, what does AI free me up to actually do? If you found this useful, hit subscribe. I'm working on a breakdown of which AI tools are actually getting through enterprise security and procurement review this year. And that's the next one I'll release. Drop a comment with the most honest version of what's happening with AI inside your company right now. Anonymized stories are fine. I read every comment.